Welcome to Inspector Josh Investigates TV. I'm Josh Paulison, a story coach and writer who believes that every story should be great. And today, we are investigating Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Season 2, Episode 13, and the first part, which is titled Page Turner. Warning, spoilers for this episode are ahead. We're going to talk about Murphy's Law, which you're probably familiar with, and it states if anything that can go wrong, it will go wrong. Now, I disbelieve that because if that were true, we'd all be dead, but it's a very good way to brainstorm new techniques, to brainstorm new ways to approach creating conflict in your stories. So, our real big question here, though, with Murphy's Law is what can go wrong? So here's 3 questions you can ask to help you brainstorm this. What should happen? What would be a normal outcome, and what does a character want to happen? Now, when you know what can go right, or what would be normal, or what would be basic, you can take the opposite of that and go for the extreme, the crazy, the horrifying. And here's why this can be so helpful. It's a good way to brainstorm conflict and come up with story arcs. Conflict is, at a basic level, something happening that one or more characters don't want to happen, and response or responses to counteract that. And so when you have something bad happen, people generally will go to counteract that. Now, having this conflict means that you have the startup of the conflict, the increasing of the conflict, and the resolution. You can actually break this down into 3 steps with a conflict story arc. You can go arising, increasing, and resolving. And you can also just brainstorm more and more crazy things to happen to your characters, because when you use Murphy's Law to figure out what can go wrong, then you can create all sorts of comedies and tragedies where an uncanny number of things go wrong for a character. Very common technique and can be very effective. So let's focus on how it's displayed in this episode of Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Glossaryck goes through the ringer in this episode. It starts mild and it gets worse over time. First, he can't find the perfect chip out of bags and bags of Cornitos.
There's only ever one chip worth eating.
Now, this is a silly, no real problem, but it's still a first step. You'll see it start to really increase. Then,
you could be practicing your magic.
Fine. What are we learning today?
Why don't you pick one? Pick anything. The perfect chip.
What's this?
Oh, no.
Hey, you said anything!
It's the most dangerous chapter in the book. It shouldn't even be in there.
She threatens to eat the perfect chip that Glossaryck found, and he caves in. Once Glossaryck unlocks the dangerous part of the book...
Now, I'm going to show you for a split second. Bureaucracy of magic. This is the worst time. Star, I'll be right back.
Just hang up.
Don't turn the page.
He's taken to the bureaucracy of magic.
Oh, hi, Mr. Glossaryck, sir.
Sean. Oh.
Sorry, the transporter is on the fritz today.
And here's where it just starts really piling on. He can't use magic there. He has to give up his magic items as security. And this is exacerbated through another character with tons of obviously magic items just getting through no problem.
Elevators on the fritz too. Sorry, stairs are on the fritz too.
One of the higher-ups even fights Glossaryck. This is a classic example of Murphy's Law in effect, of things just piling on and getting worse and worse. Now, things do work out in the end, but it's this path to that of all of this conflict and just figuring out what could possibly go wrong. So here's how you could apply Murphy's Law in your own stories. Let's say that Bob is walking down the street to get a pizza. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, plenty. So let's start with the first question. What should happen? Well, he should have a pizza waiting for him. But let's say that instead they forgot to put in his order. Or maybe there's a crazy line ahead, a several-hour wait for his order because the president just ordered tons of pizzas and they want to fill his order first. Or second question, what would be a normal outcome? Bob gets his pizza and goes home. So let's go the opposite of that. Instead, Bob gets an empty box with a note in it that he reads once he gets home. And the note reads, "Sucker." Let's go to a third question. What does the character want to happen? What does Bob want to happen? Well, Bob wants delicious pizza. Instead, it's poisoned and has anchovies. He's not sure which is worse. So look at what could go wrong and ask these 3 questions to help you brainstorm this. What should happen? What would be a normal outcome? What does a character want to happen? Then take the opposite of those answers and you will have some truly horrifying things for your characters to go through. And with that, I'd say it's safe to say, case closed. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with another episode next week. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Paulson or go to my website, joshpaulson.com, for a free ebook with tons of information, more great resources, and also you can sign up for a newsletter where you can get podcast notes each week. Have a fantastic week, and I wish you the best in all of your storytelling endeavors.